And that's our new nest that I'm going to show you now, because we've never had this nest on the programme before on Springwatch. So it's new to Springwatch. There are all our different nests that we've got, and I'm going to take you to the sand martins. There we are, that's inside the sand martin nest. We've got 5 little chicks there, and as I say, we've never been able to put a camera in a sand martin nest before because they normally nest on cliffs, so we can't get behind the cliff. But if we have a look at where this nest is, it's actually an artificial bank, and you can see there's lots of holes in the bank, and those are the nests. And if we highlight one, you can see that's where we've got our camera. So that's where they go into it. As I say, it's an artificial bank, but it's exactly like it would be on a cliff face. And they go inside the little tunnel, into the nest, where those 5 chicks are. And these parents are doing a fantastic job so far at feeding them. And as I say, they'd feed on things like these little midges, tiny, tiny little flying insects that they will regurgitate and give to their chicks. Sometimes they even ball them up into something called a bolus, which would have hundreds of little insects in it, which they would feed. And they're
Great
doing
to see
well,
those.
seem to be doing well.
Yeah, really, really good. First time inside a sand martin's nest, which is fantastic. We are equally excited about a nest that we were showing you last night for the first time. It's our sand martins. We can go to them live now. There were 5 in this nest. As I explained earlier, it's in an artificial chamber. There you can see the outside of that chamber. Here are the adults coming in, plenty of insect prey. This is at Radipole. There are lots of lakes at Radipole, and these birds like feeding over water. They're our smallest hirundine, so they're related to, obviously, house martins and swallows, and they take very small insects. But take a look at this. Yesterday morning, what's that that's flown in? Only the most beautiful bird in Britain. This is a young male sparrowhawk, so clearly a potential predator, and it's keen to predate, as you can see. But the sand martin is a super zippy little bird, isn't it? Has the sparrowhawk got the spunk to catch one of these? Well, yes, it has. It times it perfectly, swoops down, takes one of those sand martins, and then carries it away, where it will deliver it, of course, to its own chick somewhere. Comes back a little later, having been successful. These birds are smart. Once they know there's a resource there, they will keep coming back. It is, at this point, interrupted by the antics of a magpie, and the fracas that ensues leads the sparrowhawk to hunt elsewhere. Strangely, we haven't seen the sparrowhawk back, and I'm pleased to say that the adults that are servicing the chicks in our nest are still there and doing well, but I wouldn't mind betting that that sparrowhawk will be back at some point. Now, we looked into the diet of sparrowhawk and found that typically only 0.2% of the birds that they feed upon are sand martins. But there was one incident recorded in the 1990s in Scotland, in Dumfriesshire, where an ornithologist found a sparrowhawk's nest where there were loads and loads of sand martin wings. They traced it back to a colony, did the maths, and thought that this one male sparrowhawk could have accounted for 58% of all of the sand martins in that colony. Now, that would be exceptional. And what we've got here is one bird that has learned a technique which is paying dividends. It's developed what we call a search image, a means of finding something with enormous efficiency that would get it to go back and back and back until it almost exhausts the resource. But we've got to say that that's very rare. In 1,247 cases, other nests the ornithologists looked at, they've never found any more sand martins.
It is interesting, though, isn't it, that they haven't noticed it come back yet.
No.
But keep your eyes on iPlayer, because we have got our live nest there. You never know what might happen in the next few days. We've got to go now, because it's there. We've got a sparrowhawk live.
Oh. Should we go ooh, ooh? Let's go. Listen, if we go ooh, ooh, ooh several times, this could go viral, and your dad will be watching it in Argentina next week.
He will be.
You ready?
As well.
Oh, look, sparrowhawk on the sand martins.
But look, it's just sat there patiently waiting, isn't it?
So good, isn't it? It is patiently waiting.
Have we seen it try to attack? We have, haven't we?
It's already. We saw it this morning take no less than 2 of the sand martins. Now, they are very fast-flying little birds, and in level flight, I mean, it could get one in level flight, but why waste all of that energy here? It's basically using a snatch technique, because as we saw earlier, as the sand martins were either approaching or leaving the hole, it was simply dropping off the top and seizing them. And sparrowhawks are so quick, so quick. The key thing is, though, Hannah, look, there's not a lot of activity there at the moment.
No.
Is that because they've spotted the sparrowhawk, or is it because they've gone to bed?
I mean, it is about their bedtime now, isn't it?
I don't know. Look, it's still quite like... if I was a sand martin, with all these midges flying around, I'd be out there having a last little supper, to be fair. I think that something might have disturbed them. It's not exactly sneaking, is it? I mean, it's not hiding.
No, I mean, how long has it been there? Because it came on when you were live on BBC Two, hasn't it?
Yes, about 5 minutes. Literally just as we were closing the programme, it turned up. Otherwise, we would have included it. But as I mentioned in the programme, this is relatively unusual. 0.2% of a sparrowhawk's diet is made up of sand martins when they're feeding their young. But there was that one exceptional case in Scotland where they found a male which was going to a colony, and they thought it had reduced it by 58% in terms of its numbers. But we do see this in predators. You know, it makes sense. Once you've found a source of food which is reliable, and there's lots of it, once you've developed the skill of acquiring that food, then why not go back repeatedly and have it? I mean, I hate to say it, this could turn into a sand martin supermarket.
Oh, my goodness me. Now, I think we've got a close-up that we can go to.
Come on.
Of the sparrowhawk.
Oh, now you're talking.
That is stunning, isn't it?
Beautiful, yeah, absolutely beautiful.
Just biding its time there.
Yeah.
Waiting for some sand martin soup.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Question is, though, how much time does it bide? Because this is a bird that's currently got to be providing for its young. Could have 5 in the nest. Every day they're going to need at least 3 small birds each. That's got to be a busy male at this point in time. So there's always an equation to be worked out. How much energy do you spend? How far do you fly? How much time do you spend waiting? The sparrowhawk obviously isn't doing any mathematical calculations, but it is, you know, part and parcel of that process which will determine how many young it gets out of its nest is its optimal foraging capacity.
Oh.
Because it's got to forage optimally.
Say that again.
Well, you don't want to spend more energy acquiring less resources than you've spent acquiring them. So if there's no point in flying a very long way to get something that is only worth half the flight. So when that bird is trying to satisfy a nest of young, we don't know how many it's got, but it could, as I say, have up to 5. It's got to be ruthlessly efficient. It's got limited working time from about 4 in the morning through to about 10 at night. And during that time, it's got to be feeding efficiently. So it's had 2 this morning. Question is, how long does it wait?
Well, I mean, it is a bit of a sand martin buffet there. I mean, look, it stood at the top and all those holes.
Listen, I want action. I mean, you know, there's no question of that. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm a great fan of the sand martin. They're delightful little birds, but the sparrowhawk, I mean, all birds are equal, but some birds are more equal than others.
Let's have a look at our live cameras. I tell you what, let's go to the sand martins. There we are, look. Hunkered down for the 4 large chicks, of course. It's an artificial sandbank built by the RSPB. There we are. Birds still coming and going even this late on, but we had quite a bit of drama yesterday morning, very early morning. There's the bank. Sand martins coming and going. All of a sudden it goes all quiet. The sparrowhawk is back. The young male sparrowhawk is back. He has been a real thorn in their side. And look, the sand martins all come inside, the owls come in, they're quiet. The sparrowhawk didn't move for 45 minutes. He just stood there looking for an opportunity to grasp one of those sand martins. Found that nothing was going to come out while he was there, so off he went. And almost immediately afterwards, just 5 minutes afterwards, our sand martins were out and flying around once more. They must have had some kind of alarm, so they all went in quiet, and there must have been some call to let them know Sparrowhawk's gone.
I really like that nest. I think if I was one of our birds, I'd like to be in that nest. You know, it's purpose-built, it's practical, it looks cosy.
If I was one of our birds, I'd like to be that sparrowhawk.
Yeah, actually, good point.
Now, when the sun was out this afternoon, we had a lot of sand martins buzzing around. These are small swallow-type birds, migrants that arrive from Africa. They were one of the first ones to arrive in mid-March. Lovely sort of light brown backs, white bellies with that brown band across the chest. They're building up their nests now. They're just carrying bits of feathers and little bits of grass. They don't build a very good nest, really. It's just a scattered few bits and bobs. Now, they are very gregarious nesters. They're colonial nesters, usually nesting in river banks or sand cliffs. I have seen colonies over 100 strong. Until recently, there were only 2 colonies in the whole of Dorset, none of them near here. And then in 2010, the RSPB built an artificial sand martin nest bank. This is it. At first, it didn't really succeed, but 2 pairs nested in 2019, and by 2022, 38 pairs reared 100 young. And now they reckon that there's something like 60 pairs. So it's been a roaring success, which is what you would expect in a wetland area like this, full of all kinds of aerial insects for them to eat. If you've been watching Springwatch the last 2 weeks, you'll know that we have a live camera on one of those nests. So let's go over live and have a look and see what's going on. There were 5 chicks there when we saw them on Thursday. There are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chicks, I'm pleased to say, and 1 adult just dozing away, waiting for the evening light to fade. But we have had quite a bit of action over the weekend. Have a look at this, and we're privileged again to have a camera in there. Our nest is kind of bottom right there, circled, and 2 birds go in. We thought it was the resident male and female. It's not. It's an intruding male that immediately sets about to attack those chicks. Luckily, those chicks are old enough to withstand a fierce attack like this. The male, our resident male, comes in with food, looks a little bit puzzled, wondering what's going on. The intruding male is still attacking. The female eventually escapes, makes her way off, and then soon followed by the intruding male. Off he goes as well. And then our resident male starts to feed the chicks, much as if nothing's happened. You can see the chicks are none the worse for wear. But the next day, the intruding male came back again, straight in, straight on the attack once more. What's going on here? We think he's trying to kill the chicks so that he can then mate with the female, and she will give birth to his eggs and his chicks. But this time, luckily, the male comes in and sees that intruding male off. Now, we are privileged. I've never seen anything like that before, but I've never seen a camera in a sand martin nest. And don't worry, as we saw, all 5 chicks appear to be doing well. And I think it won't be long before they fledge, because they've been starting to wander around. They've been exercising. We've seen them going right down the burrow, right down to the entrance of the burrow. See one in the back there, starting to scuttle down, so when the adults come in, they can feed them at the mouth of the burrow there. And the older chick has been exercising his wings. He needs to do that because they're very aerial species, spend much of the time up in the air, so needs to get those flight muscles really strong before they eventually fledge. We don't know exactly how old they are because we're not sure when the eggs hatch. They take about 3 weeks from hatching until they fledge, and I would keep an eye on that camera because I wouldn't mind putting some money on the fact that by Thursday at least 1 or 2 of those birds will have fledged. Let's hope so.
Now, one of the nests that we've been bringing you for the first time this year has been an enormous privilege to watch. We can go to it live now. It's inside an artificial nesting bank for sand martins. Now, you can't see the young at the moment. There have been 5 in there. They were down at the base of the tunnel, and there you can see them peeping out because the adults have started to feed them at the entrance to the tunnel. Now, we've seen a sparrowhawk coming in here. There's been activity outside, but what's been going on inside has been equally interesting because there have been a number of intruders coming into the nest. Clearly not the male or the female that are responsible. We saw one of these come in yesterday, and look, in instantaneously it starts attacking the young. This has not been an isolated incident. This has been happening quite frequently. It chases the youngster down into the tunnel. They have a further fracas there. And then eventually the youngster managed to make his way back and the intruder disappears. This morning, whether it's the same bird or another one, we don't know, comes back and once again goes into the nest. This time it's followed by the parent, so as soon as it gets in, it's a bit spooked. And you can see it's panicked, it's at the back of the nest there. The adult has come in and starts to feed the young and then spots it, and a big fight breaks out. So this is adult versus adult on this occasion. And our adult, the occupying adult, the one that's rearing those chicks, manages to drive the intruder out. Now remember, of course, we would never normally see this. This is the first time we've had a camera inside a sand martin. Drives it out, and there you again, you can see our youngsters at the mouth of that nest here, and they're being fed by both of the adults. So they're surviving here, but what's going on? Well, this could be attempted infanticide. These are stray birds that are coming in and trying to kill those chicks. And we have seen something like this before many years ago on Springwatch. In 2008, this male swallow came in and systematically removed all of the chicks from another swallow's nest. And indeed, this was reported in the late 1980s, a study that was done in Sweden. There were 14 incidences of infanticide, and they were all done by unrelated males that had come to nest where the females had lost their male, so somehow they could sense that. They threw all of the young out of the nest pretty much as soon as they were hatched and small like this one, and that brought the female back into breeding condition, and that male, the infanticidal male, was the one that mated with the female. So you can see the strategy here. I think what's happening in our sand martins is it's missed its chance because the chicks are too big for it to drag out and kill, but it's still attempting to do this. And what we see in these sorts of social birds is that the more nests there are, the better it is in terms of being able to protect them, because we see basically more care going in to protect the young in that nest. So perhaps if that colony were bigger, there'd be less of these infanticidal incidents.
I really hope those chicks get out very, very soon.
Let's move on. Let's have a look live at our sand martin nest. Yeah, not much. Oh, there's one by the entrance. The other three are huddled together for warmth. I'm not surprised because they feed on aerial insects. With this rain, they're going to be no insects. So they'll just sit it out, but those will fledge soon.
Well, we won't see them fledge,
no, we
though,
won't see
will
them,
we?
but they will fledge soon.
Cameras are being turned off at 9 o'clock.